Well, hello, everybody. I love to see these early worms jumping into the webcast. This is awesome. This is Stephen here from Franklin Street, and I am joined today with my wonderful colleague, Megan.
Good afternoon.
We're very excited for the 5 ideas. This is a concept that we started at the start of the year, and our goal is every quarter we share with our colleagues out in the healthcare marketing space 5 ideas. 5 ideas to build your brand, attract patients, and make your CEO, your stakeholders, your board members, your bosses very, very happy. At the end of the day, business results make people smile, especially in this competitive, tough healthcare market. And, you know, by context of the 5 ideas, our team at Franklin Street, we have 24 full-time and 45 fractional teammates. And at the start of the quarter, we all get together for an hour and we brainstorm ideas to share with our friends out there in healthcare. And this past quarter, we came up with a new goal, a new record actually, of 97 ideas in 1 hour. And from there, we whittled it down to these 5 that we're going to share with you today. And the kind of the base for what makes up a good 5 idea, it has to solve a business challenge. Because these days, marketers, communicators, brand people, social media, we're all in the business of solving business challenges. How do we make volume? How do we generate new patient acquisition? The ideas also have to be proven to work. So everything we're going to share with you today has been proven to work, whether it's with the Franklin Street client base or our colleagues out there in healthcare. And the third thing that the 5 ideas must be is stealable, because we want you to leave here inspired and excited to be able to start executing on what you hear today. So these ideas are scalable. You can do small, medium, large applications as a result. So last little thing as we get started, I want to share just a quick context. If you don't know too much about Franklin Street, this will help you understand where we went to with the ideas. So Franklin Street helps hospitals do 3 things really, really well. We help hospitals to become the most preferred brand in the market, generate new patient leads, and increasingly strengthen physician and employee engagement. And I say increasingly because the people who tend to hire us in the hospital level are hospital marketing vice presidents and directors. And those people are being charged with more of that physician-employee engagement strategy, which of course is a daily work. Last thing I want to mention before I turn it over to Megan for the first to run through our ideas, I just want to share how we help our clients specifically. So what we love at Franklin Street is to create easy systems to deliver effective campaigns. So in our world, it doesn't matter how great the idea is if we can't create a process and a rhythm, execute on that idea in a timely manner, it doesn't really matter. We also want to make sure that we're helping our clients to leverage best practices, trends, resources, i.e. the 5 ideas that you're on this webcast for today. And the last thing is we always want to make sure we're helping our clients to achieve business results while having fun. Healthcare is tough. You know this if you're in that space. So if we can work in a fun, friendly manner, have a good time while achieving business results, we think that is a win-win. Now, enough about us. Let's focus on the ideas. Megan will walk you briefly through each of the 5 ideas just to have a sense of what you're going to hear today, and then we'll go into each one specifically.
Yeah, so as Stephen said, we have 5 ideas that we're going to share with you today. The first is the 30-minute social media tune-up. These are the 4 steps that you need to know to make sure that your social media strategy is on point. There are thousands of tools out there. They are cumbersome, they are time-consuming to use, and our clients are benefiting from strategic and simple tools, a short process to get their desired results. So some quick ideas to help you go ahead and do that.
We're also going to be talking to you about a concept called 10x patient testimonials. Every physician group, hospital, health system has done a patient testimonial campaign. We do these things because they work, but it can get a little tired in the market, so we'll share with you an alternative approach to leveraging patient testimonials in order for you to help your current patients attract your next patients.
The third idea we'll share with you, we have 25 CTAs that drive ROI. All marketers are trying to show an ROI. And that what they do benefits their hospitals. But most calls to action are afterthoughts. So we suggest flipping this around. We're going to start with the CTA and then develop the communication strategy to support those CTAs. Next up, we have $100 branding upgrades. Steak branding tips on a hamburger budget. These are simple and effective ways to enhance your brand. And the best news, they don't cost a fortune.
And the last idea that we're going to walk you through today is the marketing dashboard. This is really, really important today for marketers to make sure that they're measuring the right things on a consistent basis. So we're going to share with you some best practices. We're going to share our favorite KPIs to track. We'll actually share with you a tool that kind of brings it all together that we hope will help you to teach your internal stakeholders how to best measure success.
All right, let's get started. Let's start off with the 30-minute social media tune-up. According to the Harvard Business Review, consumers generate 25% of content that appears on web searches for specific brand names. And here's the kicker. Consumers often trust these social media messages more than the advertising or news articles about the brand. So obviously this poses a bit of a challenge. Social media audits help identify whether activities are living up to their potential. But these audits can be arduous and not give marketers the clarity they need. And so we've created a simple social media audit to help leaders identify in 30 minutes a strategic snapshot for social media effectiveness and opportunity. And we call it VIVO as an acronym. And that stands for your voice, your level of engagement, the value you're offering, and the opportunities. And for each of these 4 sections, we have 3 simple but really powerful questions for you to answer. So let's start with voice. Is the brand voice consistent? And does the voice ring true in each of your mediums? And is your brand showing up consistently in every channel? In other words, do you sound the same everywhere that you're showing up? The next is engagement. Are you encouraging your audiences to participate? Are you embracing the DNA of each of your channel's engagement tools? Are you creating content that elevates your audience and how they really want to see, easy enough for me to say. Are you creating content that elevates your audience and how they want the world to see them? Next is value. Are you helping your audience to be better? Are you connecting with your audience's unmet emotional needs? And are you sharing more often than selling?
And Megan, if I can just add for number 2, this idea of unmet emotional needs. You know, we all know that we're in the business of life and death when it comes to healthcare. And we have a very natural, emotionally rich story that we tell. The challenge, I think, what we run into with our colleagues is that internal stakeholders want you to talk about the features and the technology. And there's a time and a place for that. But especially when we're looking at the social media channel landscape, it's those emotional storytelling opportunities that really get the most play. So being able to connect with them and tell yourself, are we connecting with our audiences, where they are, what they really need to know, and that you get them in a very deep emotional place.
Thank you. And the last of these is the opportunity. Are you identifying ways to grow and improve your social channels? Are you giving yourself SMART goals for improving your social media performance? And if you, like me, need a reminder of what those SMART goals are they specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound? And lastly, are you paying attention to other brands in your category and beyond? Those brands that we see every day who really inspire us. And so just as a recap, the VIVO social media audit, your voice, your engagement, your value, and your opportunities. And so if you want some more information about this, we're going to have a VIVO social media audit worksheet available after today's webcast. So be sure to download that and conduct your audit.
Yeah. I was going to mention we will be sending a link to all of you probably in the next 24 hours or so with a link to be able to download. We actually have 4 worksheets for you today that come out of the 5 ideas, along with the link for the replay if you want to share with your colleagues. Okay, now let's go to 10x your testimonials. So there was this interesting study that was published this past year that suggested that 53% of baby boomers and 64% of millennials want more options to share their opinions about brands. I think that's a fascinating statistic, and it validates what we have felt in healthcare for so long, which is people want a voice. They want to weigh in and share their thinking and their feelings about brands. The caveat for us being in the brand world, of course, is we would prefer those voices and that sharing to be positive in nature. But nonetheless, patient testimonial campaigns as a whole have been a tried and true formula in order to generate goodwill and to market your key service lines and your overall brand. However, in competitive markets, and maybe in yours in particular, you probably noticed that traditional testimonial campaigns have a harder and harder time gaining traction because so many other hospitals and healthcare providers are likely using similar approaches. So we have a new philosophy here at Franklin Street that we've been leveraging for our clients for a while now about this idea of a 10x testimonial. So how do we take that baked-in strategy of a patient testimonial and to be able to turn and have a new spin on it to bring something fresh and new to the marketplace? So, for example, here's a photograph of the inside of an airplane. Now, I bet you're looking at this photo and saying, what's the big deal? Here's the thing. This photograph created so much emotional storytelling when we shared it to former patients, former bariatric surgery patients at one of our clients in Ohio, because this photograph represented years of pain and suffering, humiliation, and a lack of being able to feel free to live life. Because if you are morbidly obese, going into an airplane is not something that you want to do. And unfortunately for many people, it's not something they physically can do. So as we were developing campaign concepts for bariatric surgery, and we developed this idea called I Can, what we were finding when we first started doing the testimonial approach was we said, okay, too many people in the market have seen the standard ad of the guy who's lost 120 pounds and he's holding up his fat jeans that are swallowing him up and saying, look at me, I lost all this weight. That's a very inspirational message, but unfortunately it's just been done so many times that it's just not effective anymore. So as we were interviewing former surgery patients who had gone through the program and had wonderful success stories, we kept hearing about these emotional trigger phrases. And it became something that we started to look for as we continued our interview process. And what we were finding that was so fascinating was all of these former patients, all they wanted to talk about were these small victories. The fact that they could go back to the beach again because they weren't embarrassed anymore. The fact that they could play with their dog. The fact that they could go to the park. They could get on their motorcycle again. They could play soccer. They could get on a roller coaster. They could take a hike. They could walk up a flight of stairs. We were able to leverage all of these great testimonials by featuring these small moments. And the strategy was saying, go from I can't to I can. So here is a classic testimonial campaign with a twist. In this particular example, we were featuring just stock images that were completely relevant to the audience. And that's the first phase of the 10X approach. How do you repeat back to your new audience those emotional trigger phrases that you're collecting in your interview process so that it's completely authentic to that person? You want your brand to be so personal that intended audience says, how the heck do you know my heart so well? Now, the next element, I'm showing you some direct mail. These were people who, in the campaign, who had opted in to receive information, who had raised their hand and said, I'm interested, tell me more, who might have attended an online webcast event. And so we started encouraging the next phase of the 10X testimonial process by saying, as you go through the program, or if you've been a former surgical candidate who has gone through and had great success with our program, we want you to tell your story in your own words. And so we asked and invited people to participate in a video contest where we said, take your iPhone and film a 2-minute segment speaking from your heart about what that surgery meant to you in your life now. Because we want to share your story with others who are just beginning their journey, and you are a source of inspiration. We turned it into a contest with an award ceremony. And we created a very simple website link right from the main hospital website that allowed people just to upload those videos. And what's so really amazing is we had so many submissions. Now we have hours worth of footage that we're able to then cull together, re-edit, and come back with another phase of the campaign where instead of showing these stock images that were really smart and really engaging for that audience, we're now going to be able to demonstrate and show real life footage from those people, their own words. And those stories were so inspiring that allowed us to go back in and start to reimagine the bariatric surgery area within the hospital to create what we're calling these before and after photo walls. These are just sample photography for inspiration here. These aren't the real images. We're still working on it. I mention this because the guy, I think, is drinking some whiskey here, so that's probably not a good thing for a hospital. But we're doing chalkboard paint. We're doing before and after photo walls. We're having people write up their personal mottos, their missions, their goals. We're capturing the authentic nature of these people before and after that surgical process because they are a source of inspiration. And we want them to be able to capture this milestone to remember. So here are some success tips if you wanted to do the 10X approach to testimonials. Use a 3-act structure. Build your core campaign with testimonials, share that campaign, and then during the sharing process, begin recruiting more testimonials so you can build the next iteration. Create a very, very simple system for capturing those testimonials, whether it's an email address, a website link like I showed you with this particular client example. Make collecting testimonials a game, department-wide, hospital-wide. You know, I was on a call an hour and a half ago with somebody who represents one of the largest health systems in the country, and they're doing a pilot project where they're inviting the different departments and hospitals around the country to try to encourage more reviews on Yelp and Google and all of the other third-party sites these days, and they're not gaining traction. And the reason for that is they're not making it a game. They're telling staff, hey, reviews matter. Please ask your patients, your grateful patients, to make it, to do a review. The problem is healthcare is so busy these days. Those nurses have so many demands on them. That's one more thing. So we brainstormed today and said, make it a game. Do a department challenge. The department who has the highest percentage of reviews come in that quarter gets a free pizza party or time off, or whatever the hospital can do. Appeal to a person's inborn need to win. The last thing is document emotional trigger phases and use in the materials. That's the most crucial thing. Don't put in the hospital words. Don't put in the provider words. Don't put in the doctor's words. Don't put in the nurse's words. Put it in the patient's words. Parrot back what you hear, and you will see amazing engagement. I want to show you a few other examples outside of healthcare just so you get a much better sense of this version of 10X testimonials using user-generated content. So for those of you on the call today who like to exercise, you probably know the brand Lululemon. They sell the very, very expensive but wildly popular yoga outfits and workout clothes. They had a campaign a while back called #TheSweatLife on Instagram, where they were tagging these kind of real-life, authentic moments of people exercising, and then encouraging other Lululemon fans to post their own images. And they had a huge uptick in engagement on it. A couple years ago, Target decided that I was going to donate over $1 billion for college scholarships for at-risk youth. And to kick off that campaign, they invited teenagers across the country to videotape in real time receiving their college acceptance letters. And it was a 60-second spot. I'm showing screen grabs here of people, all shot on iPhones and just very raw footage. And I will tell you, it was so emotional, it would bring a tear to a glass eye. It was so authentic, and I love it. Now, we have a special bonus worksheet for you that we'll send you a link to, as Megan mentioned earlier. It's 10 questions to get your 10X testimonials. So these are 10 of the same questions that we use when we interview patients. So I think that's going to be a huge value to you. And I look forward to hearing your feedback on that.
So the next piece that we're going to talk about are those 25 CTAs that drive ROI. We know that creating compelling calls to action is the #1 way for marketers to track the effectiveness of their campaigns and to show the ROI. So according to Leapfrog Marketing Institute, 93% of CMOs say that they're under more and more pressure to deliver measurable ROI than ever before. And as hospitals continue their quest to maintain margin with drinking responsibilities, hospital marketers feel increased pressure every day to show their value. So step 1, adopt a call to action first mindset. Many campaigns suffer from CTA amnesia. Ads are laid out, and then the media space is bought, and only then, if then, is a CTA strategy developed. So we recommend developing a CTA first mindset. So you want to know what actions you want your audience to take before you start concepting your campaign. And here are 25 options for you to get started. Now here's the thing, before you start scribbling furiously, these 25 calls will also be included in the email that we will send you over the next day or so. So here are 25 options for you to consider. Attend a seminar, watch a video, talk to a nurse, book an appointment, get a second opinion, live chat with a nurse, get a physician referral, fill out a Facebook form, download content, opt in to get an email newsletter, request more information, watch a Periscope chat, comment on a Facebook post, share a link, tour a facility, attend an event, ask a question, watch a webcast, open an email, read an article, click a link, like a post, tell a friend, bookmark a page, and download an app. So out of those 25, we felt compelled to pull out our top 5, the 5 that we feel like if you had to choose, do these fantastic 5. Book an appointment, chat with an expert, attend an event, and that can either be in person or online, opt in for more information, or get a physician. Choose a physician. These are 5 ways that you can quickly and effectively engage with patients or prospective patients. There are 4 things that you've got to keep in mind when you're choosing your CTAs. You've got to be relevant. You have to offer relevant next steps CTAs based on your audience. And offering options. In other words, provide baby steps for patients maybe before they book a surgery. Collecting a name and an email address. Be sure to do this for conversion matches and to build that long-term nurturing list and play the long game. We know that healthcare is a complex sales cycle with multiple factors. Please don't expect overnight results. The key is to nurture your prospective patients over the long game. And guess what? You'll have a worksheet after today's webcast.
Yeah, and Megan, if I can just add, when we go back through to the 25 that Megan shared, you notice a lot of similarities. Similarities like they're tactical. They're things that you can do, things that you're already doing, things that are baby steps. And this idea that Megan shared about taking the long game and the long-term approach, I think is so important because not everybody's ready to buy what you're selling. So if you can begin nurturing that relationship, you begin inviting them to raise their hand and say, I'm interested in doing this one thing, and building that long-term lead-generating sales funnel is so critical for driving the bottom line, because the results that you're going to get in 2017 are going to be based on what you're doing this quarter.
For our next idea, we're going to talk about $100 branding upgrades. Now, some of these ideas we've implemented for our clients and some for ourselves. We know that a powerful brand is priceless, but that does not mean that you have to spend a fortune to upgrade your brand. So here are some ideas that, like we said in the beginning, you can steal right away. Branded email signatures. I love this one. This is an opportunity for you to reiterate your tagline, to share your mission, your vision, your core values. You can link to a blog or a social media post or a news item. Encourage your email recipient to vote for an organization in the Best of contest. The links that consider your branded email signatures when you're thinking about your CTAs, as we talked about in the last idea. The next one we have used quite a bit. This is an iPhone lavalier microphone. This helps you get better sound quality for videos. We found this for just under $20, right? It is really a great way to get better sound for videos as you're
I was going to say, I'm pointing to Megan and not being communicative. Sorry. Hey, guys, just in case any of you on the phone want to actually get this microphone, you can find it at Amazon.com. It's called the Miracle Sound lavalier microphone for the iPhone. It's $18.99. Buy it now.
You're checking the mail for that promo.
And use my sponsored link at the bottom. No, I'm kidding.
Our next one are these really sweet Hope rocks. These are branded stones that you can share with your associates who are your, ready for this, rocks of the organization. And they can share those with their patients who maybe need some extra warm touches. We did this originally with a client in Florida, and we saw the engagement around this really go through the roof. Now, we can't claim ownership on this one, but we really do love this concept, the creative elevator graphics. Our clients have seen great gains in brand awareness and preference and employee engagement around this. Elevator environmental signage is an easy, quick win. The next is for a client that we did in Delaware on the site of their new hospital. We used a searchlight at the spot of the new hospital, and it created really quite a bit of buzz in the community. We all know that noise is one of the top dissatisfiers for patients. This is a sleep kit for patients. You see the eye patches. Eye patch, is that what that's not what it's called?
Eye mask.
Eye mask. Thank you.
For those one-eyed patients of yours, I guess you could do the patch. We're just trying to make sure we're covering all of our demographic here.
The next is rounding. This one is free and probably the most valuable, in my opinion, of them all. This is something that all of us can do. You have 15 minutes before a meeting. Make sure that you spend those 15 minutes walking down the halls. It engages physicians, it engages staff, it engages patients. It does more for your brands than just about anything. The next is, this is an example of marketing automation. The investment here is in ongoing email marketing campaigns that really support your key service lines. So for the cost of sending emails, you can engage patients in a number of ways, by answering questions, by giving them more information, by providing them with additional resources. This is an example of what we did for our client St. Vincent Charity for their Spine and Ortho campaign. Next is a way that we just recently discovered, SnapEngage. This is a tool to help you live chat with prospective patients. Now, we'll be honest, this is the one that costs a little bit more than the $100. It starts at $140 for a HIPAA compliant version, but it really does add great value for engagement. And the last, these are branded t-shirts. Now, what we did here for our client, Claxton Hepburn, and their Defenders of Tomorrow campaign, we put what we believe to be some provocative words on some t-shirts. And these all speak to the personas that the employees really embody as they go to work each day. And again, the return on this campaign was through the roof.
Yeah, so this could be a 2-for-1 idea today. So if you're looking to help get more patient testimonials and more reviews, you can dangle the carrot of, hey, we'll get you some free swag from the corporate office if you pony up and meet your testimonial quota. This particular campaign was interesting for us because, as Megan mentioned, we were using these provocative words to describe former patients like Defender and Renegade and Hero, words like Snoop for pathologists and people who were not settled at status quo in terms of how they helped treat patients. And then on a whim, our client said, no, I'm just going to get some shirts made with these phrases on them and the logo on the back. And it became the #1 thing that from the campaign strategy overall. It brought a level of employee engagement up to record heights. They hadn't seen those levels of scores go up that high in several years. So nothing like the power of a really, really cool, well-fitted t-shirt. All right, last idea, marketing KPI dashboard. So I've been at this game in healthcare marketing long enough to remember the bad old days when you had no idea what you did was working or not until the very end of the process. Now we're in this really good problem of we have so many data points as we track our campaigns that it's almost overwhelming. And part of that is because you have data points that are not talking to one another, which is systematic of the fact that in healthcare you have all these systems that don't play well in the same sandbox. So you as a marketer, as a communicator, somebody who's in charge of the budget and the resources for driving new patient acquisition, we feel your pain. We know the data is out there, we have access to it, but not in a very easy platform. And so part of that philosophy and the challenge with these pain points is to say, are we on track or are we off track? You know, as we develop digital campaigns these days for clients, we are interested within the first 2-3 days into a campaign to know if we've got the right mix of messages and channels. And we're interested in that because we can change that. We can affect change and make things better in real time. The other challenge that we run into with our clients is stakeholder engagement. You know, you have C-suite people who want and need to know that you are doing the right things on behalf of the organization and you're spending your resources wisely. But the challenge is, how much do you report? How much is too much? So all of these things were kind of factors into coming up with this idea. So our philosophy is the key is to track what counts simply and consistently to know what is working. So as we start developing models for dashboards, as we start thinking about how do you attack this issue of I've got to track, I've got to measure, I've got to know what's working, how do you do that in a systematic way? And depending on where you are on this call and what organization you're with, you might look at it from 4 different levels. One, at a system level. So suppose you're the vice president overseeing several hospitals. You want to be able to look at a very master view of the system. How's your system running? Or your view might be at the hospital level, and that might be extremely relevant to you, or if you're with a physician practice. And then you boil it down to the service line level. So if you're launching 4 to 5 service line campaigns in any given year, you want to know how those service line campaigns are tracking. And then finally, looking at it by the channel level. And I think too often, a lot of the problems that we run into as we're trying to help coach our colleagues and clients on the dashboard processes, they're only looking at the channel level. And they have multiple channels, and then it gets overwhelming. So we always try to encourage our friends to take a step back, look at the big picture, and then go from there. Often we get the question, well, what are the top marketing KPIs? What should we be looking at on any given track? Feel free to take notes here, but this is actually a really cool worksheet that we're going to make available to you after the call today, the top marketing KPIs. So we like to look at 10 different things, and I'll just kind of quickly go through those. We like to look at click-through rate. We like to look at cost per conversion. We like to look at impressions. You know, the topic of impressions has really changed in the past couple of years. Looking at impressions at an online advertising level used to be really, really popular, and then it went out of favor in lieu of cost per click or cost per conversion. Now impressions have come full circle because a lot of brands want to use online for those branding messages. And buying on impressions is so dirt cheap in your market, in every market, that it's now become a really, really important thing to look at again. We also like to look at viewing duration. The number of downloads, if you're offering lead magnet opportunities and people have to opt in to download a piece of content. We love to look at appointments booked as well. Who doesn't? Patient volume, form submissions, and that simply means somebody who's interested in learning more who fills out a form that says, please call me back. I'd like to book an appointment. I'd like to talk to a provider. I'd like to talk to a resource. We also like to look at open rates on email marketing and seminar enrollment. And I think what you notice as you look at these 10 is these are things that marketing can control. And I think that's one of the key takeaways that I want to share today is that maybe this applies to you, maybe it doesn't, but I just want to state for the record, most marketers are being set up to fail right now in healthcare. They are being whipped for every problem facing a hospital or a physician practice these days. It's always the marketing's problem. No, it's not. And one of the things that we have to coach our clients and colleagues on consistently is don't take the bait. Don't take the blame for everything. You can't control what that nurse says to that patient. You can't control throughput within the ER. All you can do is get people to raise their hand and say, I might be in the need for this, tell me more. And if you could focus on what you can control, and you could start to teach your stakeholders how to properly evaluate your performance and your department's performance, you're going to gain a lot of traction because you're going to go with the flow instead of against it. And so before I share with you a kind of a real-time dashboard, I want to just quickly share the phases that we see that are most common in terms of how you build one. The first is prioritize your KPIs. What are the things that you want to track? Now, I've shared with you the 10 that we recommend, but you may have your own version of that 10. Being able to identify all of your data points, whether it's Google Analytics, Facebook, if you have access to CRM, call center reporting, being able to do a quick inventory to know where are all the possible data points. Start to set some goals. Start to set some benchmarks. Find out what the industry standard is in terms of cost per conversion. Start to say, this is where we are now. What's the bar? How do we measure ourselves? And then identify how you want your stakeholders to view these dashboards. Because you yourself, you may want and should have access to all the data points. But that might be very dangerous to share with a board member because it just might be too much information. And then be able to create a rhythm for monthly reviews and updates. So you want to have a rhythm. And that's what we do with our clients. we have a monthly call where all we look at are the numbers. How are we performing this month? What's working? What could be working better? What do we do for the next 4 weeks? So once you create that rhythm, you create flow. And just wanted to pop this up here. This is a real-time dashboard for one of our clients. It's all web-based. It's very, very cool. We are bringing in dashboard reporting from the digital media buyer, where we're tracking everything from conversions to the cost per conversion. We're looking at things like Google Analytics. Let's see if I can pop this up here. It might take a second to populate. Even call center reporting. And we found a way through this journey of building out the online dashboard to take data points that are plugged in through an API, meaning Google Analytics will let you plug in very easily and quickly bring in all that data. But we also found a way to upload Excel spreadsheets, boring old Excel spreadsheets with the data crunch numbers that have been proven out by the CRM person or by the call center person or call center reporting team, and to be able to bring them into a web-based, cloud-based format. So in this particular case, the client's able to look at the costs and the demonstration of revenue from call center reporting, as well as being able to look at social media, Google Analytics for the website, and then any kind of digital campaign-driven effort too. We're also working on a model now for how we can do effective reporting for traditional mass media as well. Because I know we're very digital-centric here at Franklin Street. We love it for the ROI, but we also know that there is no one silver bullet strategy for how you acquire your next patient. So it's an all of the above approach, and so I think your dashboard needs to reflect that too. We should give credence to the traditional media markets, because sometimes that's simply the most cost-effective way to acquire that next patient. So I just wanted to share with you in real time what a dashboard looks like. There are different versions out there. This is the one that we happen to create for our clients that we know and love. But I often find seeing is understanding when it comes to looking at dashboards, so I just wanted to share that with you. And again, also wanted to quickly mention as we start to wrap up the call today, we have our top 10 marketing KPIs worksheet available for you. That will go out as an email link by tomorrow. So if this appeals to you, click that, download it, and share that around. So we're going to wrap up here in just a second with a couple of announcements. But
yeah, Stephen, before we move into those announcements, if folks do have questions and want us to answer those while we're on the phone now, we'd certainly be happy to do that.
Yes.
And as a reminder, we will be sending out an email with links to all of these worksheets. So don't forget to check your email, get those bonus materials, and a replay of this webcast.
And I was just like, do you want to talk about Trends Week?
Trends Week. Trends Week is coming the week of August 1st. What in the world is Trends Week? Well, instead of just 5 ideas that you have to wait until next quarter to hear more about, next month we'll be sharing with you some of the hot trends that we are seeing in healthcare marketing. Every day for a week, we are going to share with you what we're seeing and what we think you can do to grab hold of those trends and make your lives a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Looks like we've got a couple questions coming in here, so I'm just going to take a couple quick notes here.
As you're sending in questions, if you think of things that you would like for us to include in future 5-idea webcasts, please send those in as well. We'd love to make sure that we're hitting on those things that you really do want to hear about.
Awesome. Well, we've got 2 questions here that are more technical in nature relating to the dashboard, so I will do my utmost to answer them. The first is a question about lag time for manual data upload, collections from patients and tagging it to the channels. So here's where we have to be a little creative problem solvers, because this dashboard that I shared with you, we are pulling in data points from our client's digital media firm that we're good friends with. We're pulling it in from a very well-known, beloved call center. And we've got a couple other tricks up our sleeve that we're pulling in the future. But the point is, for the call center, for some of these other third parties, they typically provide those reports once a month, sometimes once a quarter, and those are continuously being updated too. Yeah. So for us, we have to create and make notes with our client of, this is what the reports look like at this date and time, and we know when the next data pull will be. So lag time is just a necessary evil as part of the healthcare process. I wish we could get everything in real time like Google, but that's just not a possibility for most of the call centers and CRM partners out there. As far as, and there was another question about how do you tag revenue to certain channels. Part of that for us, the easiest way, is the opt-in. So we always try to create campaigns where there is a way for a person to opt in and raise their hand, whether that's the call center or that's on an email form, because we like to collect the name, email address, and as much information as they're willing to share. We don't want to make it too much of a barrier for entry for getting that prospective patient to connect it in. But once we get those bare bones minimums from those prospective patients, either through a call center or a form, we're able to then work with the data tracking folks to be able to make a financial revenue connection point. Now that is a journey in and of itself, and that's a full team effort, because we just haven't found a hospital that's just made it perfect yet. But it usually takes probably several months, especially when you start to see those charges come together. Yeah, I know. What we're finding right now, for example, is one of our other clients. We did a really interesting bariatric surgery campaign. Not the client that I shared with you, but another one. And there is such a long lead time from the time the person signs up for the event, attends the seminar, gets screened to be a candidate approved, and the downstream revenue. So what we're doing now in real time with the client is making sure that all hands and all parties agree this is the average revenue that this particular kind of patient will generate the hospital once they complete the surgery. And then tied that back to the campaign. So the hospital might not feel that revenue hit for 3 or 4 quarters, but we're having real-time conversations with what the market ROI value to those campaigns are in real time. Last couple questions. Thank you guys so much for your feedback and engagement. This is really fun. Question. Early in the presentation, you mentioned elevating the audience for how we want people to see them. What do you mean by this? I'm not sure. I hate to say, what do you mean by what do I mean? I'm not sure. Maybe you can ask that. Is it on the, Megan, do you want to?
I'm wondering if it's about the Vivo audit.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay. Vivo. So going back to the social media, so there was this really interesting study that was done this past year, focused primarily on Facebook, that demonstrated and showed the #1 reason people share a post on Facebook is because they want their audiences, their network, to see them in a certain way. So for example, if I share something on Facebook with my audience, it's because I want to let everybody know this is what I stand for. These are my core beliefs, that I stand for the pain and suffering of the people experienced in Orlando. So if you can create content with the intention that it's shareable and it demonstrates the integrity, the quality, the values of the person, you're more likely to get it shared. I hope that answered your question. Great one. Number 2, are there ways to search emotional triggers online, or are surveys and focus groups the only ways to find emotional triggers? Oh, that's a good question. You know, we love feedback groups, and that, of course, is a one-to-one or a small group thing. We love 5, 10, 20-minute phone surveys. Again, it's more of hearing that in real time. But there's a great book out there called Will It Fly? And it's about testing your business ideas in real time to see if they're viable. Why I mention that is because he used a great example of how you can search forums for your intended audience. And you can look in those forums, and in those forums, because those people are brutally honest about whatever topic it is that they're talking about, you can start looking for those emotional trigger phrases. And once you start looking in that direction, you'll see them all over the place. So great question. Well, thank all of you so much for the wonderful participation and engagement today. I know, Megan, I had a great time. What about you?
Absolutely. This was great. Thank you all for your time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, and like I said, check your email. We'll send you a link to all the bonus materials today, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.